I'm going to explain how to work with video files in a multi-track session. And we're going to start with a blank slate here, no files at all, because I want you to bring in some video files using a couple of different techniques. Now, early on in these tutorials, I explained how to import or open video files, so this might be a little bit of review for you, but I think the reinforcement will be worthwhile. We're going to start here in the media browser, and the reason for that is that it has one cool feature that allows you to take a video file and put it right into a multi-track session. So I'm going to go down to these shortcuts that I made in some of the early tutorials. I'll open this up a bit so you can see them. If you didn't make the shortcuts, you need to navigate to the working files, demo files subfolder, either within the media browser or elsewhere, but I hope that you use the media browser for this little part of the tutorial. And inside there are a couple of video files. I'm going to open this up a little bit wider so you can see them. We have the AVI video file, which we're going to work with, and the MP4 video file we're going to work with. Notice that the AVCHD file has no information next to it. That's because I switched off the preferences for the dynamic link media server. That's up here in Edit or Adobe Audition Preferences, Media and Disk Cache, and then here's this option to enable DLMS. I turned it off now just to show you that Audition works with quite a few different kinds of video file types, including AVI and MP4. I'm going to right-click on the AVI file, and there's the option to insert it into a multi-track session. The only choice is New Multi-Track Session. If there were an existing multi-track session here, we could import it into that. So I'll just click New, and two things are going to happen. A multi-track session is going to open up over here, and these two files are going to appear here. Not one file, but two. That's because when you bring in a new video file, it splits the audio out into a separate file. So let me just name this multi-track session. We'll call it Video Multi-Track. And I'll put it inside my Audition exercise files folded like that. We'll accept the 48,000 hertz sample rate because that matches the sample rate of the video we're bringing in or the audio we're bringing in. Bit depth 32 floating point stereo, that's fine. So I'll click OK. And now here comes that multi-track session. Let me slide this fellow over a little bit so you can see a little bit better now. And a multi-track session here now with video in it has this track called Video Reference. I think Adobe engineers called it Video Reference just as a reminder to you that you can't actually edit this. I'm going to click away so I deselect both of them and go back and click on this. If I want to trim it, for example, there is no trim tool appearing here. I can't cut it either. If I grab the razor tool, I can't cut it. I get the little line through the razor tool saying, nope, sorry, no editing allowed here. Go back to the move tool here. However, down here, I get those options. I get the trim tool showing up and I can edit the audio, but I can't edit the video. It's just there as a reference. And it would be nice if I could see it, right? All I see is the clip here. I don't see the video. Why is that? Well, it's tucked way down here in this video panel. I could lift this up to see the video panel there. That's one way to do it. Or I could switch to a workspace that's kind of conducive to working with video. This Edit Audio to Video workspace. So I click on that, and where the heck is it? Well, it's up here in the corner. Depends on your resolution as to whether you'll see the video full screen or not, or at least full width here or not. Our resolution is kind of smallish here to make sure we have a nice clean video for you to look at. So I'm going to pull this baby down a little bit and that'll spread it out. So just be aware that the only difference here when we work with the Edit Audio to Video workspace is that it puts the video up here in the upper left-hand corner. It makes it a little more convenient. And now the Files panel is now tucked away down here with the media browser. So now what do? We've got this video here. We can move it around, which is a good thing because lots of times when you bring video in and the audio is split out down here below, sometimes you might want to move the audio and the video around and let's say have a music introduction down here and then bring up the audio from the video. What you're doing here, the purpose is to have this video here as a reference while you edit a multi-track session with it. You might add a narration, you might add some music, things like that, all inside this multi-track session. And when you're done, you can then mix down the multi-track session into a file. It could be stereo mono or whatever, but you can mix it down to a file. It won't include the video in that file. It'll just be an audio file. And then later, when you go back to your video editor, you'll bring in your original video, and that original video will have the original audio attached to it. And then you bring in this separate audio file you made here on Audition, and then you can either mute or delete the original audio track and just use this new track here. Now, if you just want to edit the single track, if you just want to put some effects on it or do something to clean up the audio or something, this is probably not the best place to do it. You'd probably be better served to work inside the waveform editor over here and then save this later. It'll show up here as this audio file that's inside a temporary folder as a temporary file right now. So later on, if you want to make some changes, you need to save this and make sure you store it someplace where you can track it down, probably in the same folder that the original video file is saved. All right, let's go back to that multi-track session now. I want to work with another video file, and this time, instead of going to the media browser, I'm just going to double click an empty space here to open up the import file dialog box. And I'm going to double click on the MP4 video here. And that brings in this MP4 video file with its audio split out, which is the right thing you want to do. Now, let's say I want to have this video file up here as well. So I'm going to take this guy and put it right there at the end. I'm going to get a message, sorry, only one video clip allowed per session. Do you want to replace the existing clip? Well, for our purposes, I will, but normally I wouldn't. I'll say yes. And that'll put it where I placed it, but I can slide it over. But in the end, even though it's of the same basic scene, it's a different shot. It has different audio associated with it, so it really doesn't make much sense for me to use this video clip here with that audio. But just so you know, if you do bring some video in, you can only have one clip. You can't put one clip after another, something like that, like you would with a typical video or audio editing program. So I just want to show you how that works. Now, let's say I want to create a new multi-track session and then put this video in the multi-track session. So what I'm going to do is make a whole new multi-track session using the standard approach rather than importing from the media browser. Then I'm going to show you what happens if you add a video file to that. So I'm going to go File, New, Multi-track Session. We'll take the default settings. I'll call this one Video 2 Multi-track. And it'll just be a blank slate with 6 tracks, but no video track now. Go to my files here. I want to bring this MP4 video into there. So I drag it over, and it looks like it's right there in track 1, right? You see how it's sitting there in track 1? I can put it on track 2. Wherever I want to put it, I'll put it in track 3. I'll let it go, and that automatically creates a video reference track. No matter where I was trying to put it, it's going to say, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to make you a video reference track and put it in there. But notice the audio didn't go in. It just brings the video over. So now I bring the audio over separately. So there are multiple ways to bring video into a multi-track session. And then you can work with the audio part of the video, but you can't really do any editing on the video itself here inside Audition.